One thing we keep on talking, we keep on seeing when we provision storage account or virtual machine is regarding the resource management. When you create a virtual machine or storage account or virtual net, it has to be belonging to some kind of mechanism hierarchy, right? We have been seeing that, like including subscription resource group, but we haven't been talking about what exactly they are and how they are organized. And in this session, we are going to talk about these concepts. So it started with some kind of this diagram for Azure Cloud, a common cloud. As we said, you can have a virtual network, you can have multiple subnets. Then inside these subnets and virtual network, you also have things like application gateway, active Azure load balancer. These are like Azure provisioned network appliances. Then you have virtual machines, you have some kind of a production firewall, you have the database. All these things exist in the Azure system under your management in your corporation, and you will need to pay for it, right? So the apparently it can goes up a lot more than that. It can goes up to hundreds of machines and hundreds of storage accounts. All these are under your management. And the question is, how do you manage them, right? You have so many hundreds of stuff. How do you check the spending? How do you monitor them? How do you know what exactly did you are you spending and are you utilizing the resource? If you provision a virtual machine, are you utilizing that to its maximum power, or is that sitting there wasting your money, your time, wasting its time and your money? The on-demand nature of a cloud makes it even worse because a lot of times people can just come up and provision a virtual machine if they are granted this privilege, and you have to check it. You cannot predict that. You cannot forecast that. You cannot plan for it. You can only closely monitoring your system and putting them into a certain hierarchy so that you understand, and so that you can have a better control over it. So we start with the the management part of a resource. How do you manage resource? If you think about how do you manage resources at your home, you have clothes, you have cooking utensils, you have furnitures. How are you going to group them? How are you going to manage them? How do you manage, keep track of what clothes you have? Do you have enough socks? Do you have enough cooking utensil? You have, let's say, you have six plates and six bowl. Is that enough for your family to have a dinner? Or when some friends coming in, what are you going to do? How do you do that? How do you manage them? The one important way of managing is you group them. You divide and conquer. So you group your resources into different groups, and within this group, making these groups manageable. So, for example, if let's say you are moving, all right, you're moving to a new place, then you want to, of course, you can throw everything into a big dumpster and ship everything all in one dumpster. But a more reasonable way is to have multiple boxes, and then there's also another question is how do you put things into this box? You can just throwing everything you see in front of you into a box. You can throw like shoes together with your socks, with a kid's toy, and throwing like your kitchen utensils with all the dirt and oil, with some of your books, right? So this is possible, but most people would choose to group them based on their characteristics and where the place where they're supposed to be in. Kitchen utensils goes everything in the kitchen goes to one box, and your clothes go to another box. Your books go to books and electronic devices go to another box. This is what we call grouping, right? You group them, you divide them into different groups, and under each group there might be smaller groups. If you have like just an example of clothing, you may have like your coat, winter clothing, summer clothing, spring clothing, and so this is a group, a subgroup, undergroup. That's how you create a hierarchy. So you will divide your resources into groups, and wherever necessary, divide them further into subgroups, and thus forming a hierarchy. And this hierarchy can be like a multi-level uh, group and subgroup and sub-subgroup, etc. This is one way of handling that, and another way is adding a tag. Right, when you move your boxes, you will just get a marker and write on the box. This one goes to kitchen. This one goes to living room. This one goes to bedroom, or this one goes to kids' bedroom. So this is tagging. Organize that in tag different things. Like if I see 3 boxes, each with a note saying that this goes to kitchen, I will just move all of them into kitchen. This is the way you do tagging, right? And finally, you manage by utilizing automation. This is not a way to group or to mark your resources. Rather, it's a try to take control of your the effort involved in provisioning and managing resource. So these 3 aspects of a resource management, we are going to quickly talk about these today. Grouping and hierarchy, this is one, and tagging is one, and automation is one. So we started with a grouping hierarchy. In Azure, there are like 4 levels of a grouping. In the lowest of the hierarchy, there's resources, individual resources like virtual machine, like a virtual network, like a secure storage account, things that you created. Then you want to group resources into resource group, and group them in resource group are grouped into subscription, and the subscriptions are grouped into management group. So but what's the difference of these resource group versus subscription versus management group? We start with the resource group. Resource group is a container that holds the related resources for an Azure solution, and solution was probably too big a word here. It's a these are the resources for a given workload. If they are created to achieve the same object, same business purpose, serve the same purpose, then you can group them. And usually, these resources should have the same expectation of life cycles. They should be created together. They should be deleted together. If I have a web server and a database server for the same application, then I would expect to create them together. And once I finish creating them, only when I have both created, that this web server is useful, right? A web server without a database or a database without the application using that, neither is useful. I have to create them together. Then once I delete any of these, the other one becomes obsolete, becomes useless. So they better be deleted together. And that's the purpose of a resource group. Things that should have the same life cycle. You create them together, and once it's done, all of them should be created together. Should be deleted together. These are the candidates that's going into the same resource group. Resources within the resource group should be resources that work for the same workload and serving the same workload and have the same life cycle expectation. On top of a resource group, there's subscription. As you can see, resource group is used to group to be a workload facing grouping. Now, subscription is more on the cost management side. Subscriptions logically associate user accounts with the resources they create. So if you are a user, you will create your own subscription and you will place your resource groups under the subscription. And here you set up your bill payment. All the resources in the resources group in this subscription will be charged on this subscription level. So subscription is frequently used to manage cost and the cost-related management tasks. So they are used to manage costs and the resources serving same business activity, same workflow. That's why also that in each subscription there's a limits or quota on the amount of resources that you can create or use. It's natural to think about this, right? If you are controlling a cost, you also want to control how many resources you want to provision. If I say that my group only have 10 people, we should have 10 machines at most. That's where I have a subscription. If anyone want to create 3 machines for himself or herself, that's when the subscription quota will get exceeded and this will get blocked. So there are multiple like different things that you can place your limit on, and Microsoft will keep on changing that. So this is not the purpose of showing this is not so that you know there is such a limit, or let's say the location of a subscription level deployment can only be 10. You have to remember that. Not like this. It's only serve a purpose that you are aware there is a resource limit for when you have a subscription and when you try to provision resources inside the subscription, because this one is sometimes some of them are soft limit. You can ask Microsoft to change that, and some of them are hard limit. But either way, Microsoft reserve the right to change that without notice. So it's better to that you keep this thing in mind and check with Microsoft whenever you potentially could run into such an issue, a quota or limit issue. So on top of a subscription, there's management group. Management group helps you manage access, policy, and compliance for multiple subscriptions. So management group is one level higher than subscription group. The subscription, it groups different subscriptions together, and the reason we have that is because so subscription usually is tied to one payment method, right? It's cost management and it's also a payment. But for we all like in the enterprise, different group, different department, they may have different payment channel, or like different credit card, different accounts. Subscription pretty much maps to those payments. And then on top of each payment, there could be multiple groups, multiple departments, and departments may report to the same hierarchy. So management group is used to reflect this. Each management group, the lowest of the management group, reflects some kind of a business hierarchy unit that has a right to create subscriptions, or to utilize some kind of subscription. Um, whereas resource group and subscription, they the resource group and subscription cannot be embedded. One uh, a resource group can only belongs to one subscription, and this resource group can have a multiple resource, but cannot have other resource groups. Similarly, subscription can only belongs to one management group, but the subscription have multiple resource groups, but not subscriptions. So both resource group and the subscription, neither of them can be embedded. It has to be a flat layer. This will be resource belongs to one resource group. Each resource group belongs to one subscription, and the subscription goes to management group. There's no embedding, no complex infrastructure, no complex hierarchy structure. But management group can be embedded into themselves and thus form a hierarchy of their own. Can form a hierarchy like there's a root group of the management groups. Then there are multiple layers and multiple branches of managed group. But within each management group, there can be multiple subscription. Like here, this one have a multiple subscription, but each subscription can only have one management group. Then under each subscription, there will be multiple resource group, but each resource group can only have one subscription. Usually, you use the management group to map business unit, like we talk about business department, business functions, business teams, and teams have the ability to spend some money, right? To spend some money, so they may have multiple. Each department have multiple finance accounts, and these accounts are like usually called cost centers or and have some ledger accounts. These cost centers, it can be mapped into subscription. Subscription is created to map to cost centers so that you see the cost, you see the utilization, and where you can set up the limit of spending. Then eventually under this subscription, there's resource group that can group sources for a given workload. And usually the resources inside share the same life cycle. They get created together and get deleted at the same time. Now this is a best practice. That's not a mandatory rule. You can do anything you want in creating an organizational hierarchy. But if you stick to these three understandings, it make your life much easier. One example, for example, here we have, for example, we were talking about lab last week. This is, in week 2 we have the virtual machine lab, right? We have a virtual machine lab. Everybody create a virtual machine, and by the end of that week, nobody need to run this virtual machine anymore. So these virtual machines can all be deleted. This is what we call the same life cycle. The purpose is to teach you how to create and manage virtual machine. So all the virtual machine will be created at about the same time and will be deleted after we finish this virtual machine class. So they can naturally go to the same resource group, share the same life cycle, be created together, and get dropped at about the same time. Then on top of that, there's this subscription, DS684 for 2024 session 1. Session 1, this session, each class has a budget. And this budget can be utilized, can be spent on different things. One of these is this Azure subscription, right? This Azure subscription maps to one spending, which is the Azure cloud spending for teaching. That's why you have the subscription. Then on top of that, there's the school hierarchy, the master, the data science program, the school of business, and the university, 3 levels. Now this is not the only one. This is the one following the recommendation. You can make twists and turn to it, right? If you consider the all the things created in this class session should have the same life cycle, right? Or virtual machines can once created can be used later, right? So for example, or storage account, the ones created will be utilized later on. Then you can create a session resource group. Session resource group includes all the resources created for this session. Then on top of that, there's like a subscription that goes to there's a subscription that pays for all these sessions. In this case, the subscription is probably on the department or program level. For the program, the data science program will pay for each session, each class. For DS684, we spend this much money. For DS530, we spend this much amount of money. And then it still goes to, but once it goes to the subscription, it still goes to the data science program and the school of business and the university, this management hierarchy, right? That's how you define those groupings. However, there's nothing stopping you just from dumping everything into one resource group, putting this resource group as the one and only resource group in the subscription, and putting this subscription as a one and only subscription in the management group. So the whole school have one management group, one subscription, one resource group. Everybody created their stuff in this resource group. There's nothing stopping you from doing this, from something doing this. But this is apparently not the best practice, right? This is certainly not the best way to manage your objects. It's going to be very difficult for you to drop things and remove and associate the resource with the utilization and the calculating cost. So this is that you could. So technically you can do that, but you are not supposed to do that. You are not recommended to do that.